Hello, and welcome to another edition of Walking with Jesus. So, as we gather today, we are going to have a tough passage to look at. This is from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 14, and the heading in my Bible breaks it out as the cost of discipleship. And I'm just going to be honest, Jesus doesn't pull any punches when it comes to this statement of what it is to follow him and what it means. It's a challenging call. And so as we look at it, I just want you to know that even I, who I'm a pastor, I find it extremely challenging. And yet I think it's something that we do need to focus on, something that we need to be reminded of, that the call to follow Jesus is not a call to fun and games. It's a call to sacrifice. And Jesus pulled no punches when it came to that. The whole idea that has been promoted in churches for ages, that just accept Jesus Christ as your Savior and everything will be okay. That's not the message that Jesus gave. He said, you accept me and you can expect trials and tribulations. You follow me and it's going to be sacrifice. Now, will it work out all okay? The answer is yes, it will. Will it be a good thing for you ultimately if you accept Jesus as your Savior and Lord? The answer is yes, absolutely. We have that hope, that confidence, and that is tremendous good news. But we also need to understand that in this world, it will not always be easy and it will be difficult. And so Jesus wants us to count the cost first. So let's read this together. And it says this. Now, I'm reading from Luke 14:25 to 33. Now, great crowds accompanied him, and he turned and said to them, and I'm sure some of them kind of stopped following him around after this, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brother and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. And whoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, desiring to build a tower, does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. Or what king, going out to encounter another king in war, will not sit down first and deliberate whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him who comes against him with 20,000? And if not, while the other is yet a great way off, he sends a delegation and asks for terms of peace. So, therefore, any one of you who does not renounce all that he has cannot be my disciple. Oh, Lord help us. So, as we come to this passage, I do want to let you know that the word hate here and the thought that is wrapped up with this is in comparison to your relationship with Jesus. So if anyone comes to me and does not, in comparison to your love for Jesus, hate your own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, and even your own life, you cannot be my disciple. The idea here is who's going to be first and who's going to be calling the shots of your life. And are you willing to lose absolutely everything, to lose relationship with your father and your mother and your wife and your children and your brothers and your sisters, and possibly even lose your own life for the sake of Jesus? That's what Jesus is saying. He's saying that nothing on earth compares with the value of being in relationship with me, knowing me, and following me. Are you willing to lose everything for my sake? Then he goes on, whoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For us, this is not as graphic as it was for them. Outside of almost every town, certainly every major town in Israel, there would have been crosses, and these people would have seen people being executed on those crosses. They know what a cross is. It's not a gold or silver ornament worn around the neck. It's not an earring. It's not a tattoo. It's a means of death, and they know that. And so whoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. Once again, are you willing to lose everything for me? Because if you're going to follow me, it may cost you everything. And then he goes on and says, that's why you need to count the cost. Because if you're going to build a tower, if you're going to buy a house, if you're going to start a business, if you're going to plan to have children, you're going to try and figure out first whether or not you have the ability to do so. And you're going to count the cost. Well, if you're going to follow Jesus, you need to do the same thing. If you were to go out to war, that's the other illustration, and you realize you can't beat the other guy, you're going to ask for terms of peace. The bottom line, therefore, when he gets down to verse 33, is, so therefore, any one of you who does not renounce all that he has cannot be my disciple. This is tough, because Jesus really is saying, I love you, and I'm glad you're following me around. There's great crowds that are accompanying him. But have you counted the cost, and are you willing to lay down your life for my sake? Are you willing to lose everything for my sake? We know there are people who did that. We know that there's the Apostle Paul and Peter and James and John and the other disciples. They were willing to lay down their lives for Jesus. In fact, they did. We know that Justin Martyr, the reason that he's known as Justin Martyr is because he laid down his life for others. And for us today, I think it's important for us to begin to live into answering this question. Am I willing to lay my life down for Jesus? Would I be willing to die for him? Because that is the true witness of a disciple. One who would follow Jesus and be conformed to him, is they would be willing to go to the cross with him and for him, losing even their own life, that he would be glorified in theirs. This is a tough ask. It's a tough call. But in these days when the church is losing favor, in these days when persecution may ramp up, in these days when we may be closer than ever to the time of the great tribulation before the coming of the Lord, it's a good thing to remember that Jesus called us to count the cost a long time ago. He didn't sugarcoat this life, and as your pastor, I can't either. So as you walk with Jesus today, the question that you can be asking yourself is, am I willing to lay down everything for the cause of Jesus Christ and his eternal kingdom? Hopefully, you'll never have to answer that question in reality, but you at least ought to wrestle with it. God bless you as you walk with Jesus today.